This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with SB Sports Chaco. We're delighted to join once again with the main man, Dee Walsh. How's things?
All good. Staying busy.
Staying busy. I know you're going to a show tonight in the Devonish, so
Yeah.
for anybody sort of tuning in, don't worry, it's not going to be a big marathon one this evening. But funny, we were just talking before we started. There, we were saying when we last spoke, and I think the last time we had really warm weather when we were in the gym, so.
That's right.
And that was a while ago. Sort of the reason we sort of wanted to get you on, I guess, we're in the final week, I guess, of the voting for Trainer of the Year. I know obviously everybody's going to have their favourites and things like that, but we obviously wanted to do a catch up on sort of what 2021 was like for you in the stable. How did you feel? Obviously, probably 2021, probably would say your busiest time of your fighters. 2020 we obviously had the pandemic and behind closed doors shows and bolt and things like that. When you sort of look, I guess, just probably at your pro boxers, how would you feel 2021 went for you?
Well, perfect, because all the big fights, all the fights, won every single one with the pros. So you basically say perfect, because in Ulster Hall, 2 knockouts, Paddy got a knockout to Fela, Lewis got a big win in Bolton, defended his European title. Then there was Owen O'Neill, had a few fights. Then there was Colin Murphy, made his pro debut. So it was busy enough, but hopefully this year's 2-3 times as busy as last, because I'm looking forward to it.
And I guess obviously with the Fela in particular, 8,000 people in Falls Park, I think it's probably, for me, coaching is probably the biggest. I think you said in advance you were sort of looking forward to it, having that pressure of people shouting from outside the ropes and a different environment to deal with. But particularly the Fela, it's, I guess, in strange times to still having 8,000 people there and a good night of boxing.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I can remember saying before that I didn't mind no crowd. I don't mind no crowd, but having the crowd there actually reminded me of how amazing it is, especially when you win too. Atmosphere, unbelievable.
And I guess, like you've probably some of the top talent probably in the country, and you've a couple of ones sort of starting off, sort of journey as well. Is it probably good for you in a way where you have like the likes of Lewis and Paddy, sort of the front runners of the gym? Owen would probably say is a hard worker, does everything you sort of ask of him and puts in the hard work, and then you've Colin and Connor coming through there as well. Have you got that right sort of balance in the gym?
Yeah, definitely. Especially with Lewis and Paddy fighting in the longer rounds, it gives everybody else a kind of grasp on what needs to be done whenever they get that level too. So happy enough in terms of where everybody is and the level they're at, and as I say, just really looking forward to 2021 because it's actually going to progress even more.
And I know I was speaking to Jamie last week. I think he's saying potentially the first card in Belfast could be April. Probably like something sooner. I know Mark wanted they have Colm out in January, but because of the British board, because the doctors need it elsewhere, they couldn't put shows on. But I guess the more you have the fighters, rather than being in the gym, that they actually have something to look forward to, you can ramp things up a few levels with them as well.
Well, every Friday in here we do sparring. Everybody spars, basically everybody. When there's no fights coming up, I just throw everybody in with everyone. But when there is fights coming up, that's when you get, for example, Paddy or Lewis or Owen doing 6, 8, 10 rounds, and then you start mixing everybody up afterwards. And so at the minute, there's nothing coming up for anybody, and it's a pity about Colm not getting out at the end of January, because he's trained pretty hard. Colm is a hard trainer anyway. He's a all year round type of trainer. So thankfully. So I'm looking forward to him getting it as soon as possible as well, because it's been pretty long since he fought.
And like 2 years pretty much, I think you've had a belt. Both times I think Lewis won his belt 2020 European belt, and then obviously Paddy won the WBC International Silver. Is, I guess, particularly with them two, and for a prime example, probably the plan for them in this year is to probably go on and achieve more belts. I guess with an gym, it's a success with picking up titles and things like that. Is that how you sort of see it, or just as long as it win, that's?
Well, 100%. Like, I just think once the managers message me, tell me who they're fighting, then we work on a game plan for maybe 2 months or whatever it is, whatever notice we get, and then we take it from there. No matter who it is, the belts are all just a bonus for now. Do you know what I mean? So as I say, I just take it a fight at a time, and yeah. So belts are going to come the more the wins come. So, but it'd be nice to have more and more. Say with 2 belts at the minute, as you said, you mentioned them both. I was actually hoping for both of them to be fighting for more belts in the Ulster Hauler. Would have been nice, but didn't happen. So, as I said, gets the gym used to winning good, nice, big belts.
And even more so for the young amateurs, everybody sort of, sometimes probably some of the amateurs, but depending on the age, if they're really young, they sort of look and they'll glorify a boxer more because they see a belt. Hopefully, potentially this year, Lewis is going to fight for the British title. I think the last time, it was Sinky 2002, 2003, so nearly about 20 years since the British welterweight champion. But obviously what that would do for the gym in terms of the young ones and seeing probably the best belt in boxing, in the stable, is just going to, inspire them more.
Yeah, definitely. I actually remember Carl Frock says that the WBC, WBA and IBF belt in his attic, but he's got the British title in his living room because it's such a prestigious belt, and I would love to have that in this gym right now, in this camp with Lewis, because the guy who is the champion at the minute, Asserman, I think that's definitely a winnable fight. And not that I'm giving any disrespect to the fella, but I think Lewis beats him. And then that would set him up for an even bigger fight. Obviously, after Outflix, people like Conor Ben and stuff. But at the same time, it's going to be hard to get that fight with Asserman because I'm sure he's looking to be fighting people like Conor Ben himself. So it's going to be hard for Lewis to get them type of fights at the minute because it's going to be you're probably going to have to pay them very well because it's basically they're in subconsciously they'll probably know they're going to get beat, so they're going to be looking to pay it well to get beat, if that makes sense. But that is probably the goal for Lewis at the minute, is the British title. But if it doesn't come, it doesn't come. He's number 7 in the WBO, I think he is now. So just keep playing up in rankings every fight he has and just keep winning. That's the number one thing for him at the minute. And as you say, with the amateurs and stuff, it makes them believe that it is possible to win titles when they were there pro. Because I do want my amateurs to kind of go pro at the age of 19, 20, whatever. I would actually wouldn't even make them skipping past elite level amateur, the turn pro. So that's if they see people in this gym winning titles, then it gives them the belief that they can do it too. So the more the better.
I guess for people sort of going, why sort of skip the elite sort of level, I guess probably your understanding is if you have a fighter from a young age, you'll know if they're ready, for turning pro, rather than probably going through the amateur system and the corrupt system probably that still is. You don't want them going through that heartache and losing love for the sport. You see most of the people I interview, I said to them obviously what changed from amateur boxing, they fell in love with it. And I guess you want to sort of limit where they can fall out of love with it and enjoy the pro side of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one of the reasons I want them to skip past the amateur elite level or whatever is because it's the inconsistency I don't like. I really don't like. If you sometimes I've went to referees and have told me, like after the fight when my fighters lost, I was like, how did he lose it? Like he hit the guy well more shots than the guy hit him. They were like, yeah, but the guy was dominating from the centre of the ring and your fighter was on the back foot. He looked like he was more dominant, but my fighter's landing more shots. But then I've also had fighters who dominated from the centre of the ring, and maybe the other guy hit him more shots, but yet the guy who fought on the back foot wins the fight. And I'm going over them again going, did you not say you want to see dominance from the centre of the ring and yet it's one against him this time? Like I just hate the inconsistency of amateur boxing and stuff like that. Like see nowadays like head movement is completely not allowed no more. Like if you drop the head slip, you're pulled for dropping your shoulder. If you roll, you're pulled for dropping your head. It's actually, it's not what amateur boxing ever was when I boxed, and so or ever, because I actually would sit and watch right now. Ulster League finals from like 1982, Eamon McGee against this one, against that one, people from Holy Trinity fighting in the Ulster League final in the Ulster Hall, and amateur boxing was never like that in terms of like the referees and the judges, and I actually think it's worse now than it ever was, and for things like that. So nowadays they don't let head movement, but next year they might let head movement. It's that inconsistency I hate. I would just rather that the done what they had to do in the amateurs and just go straight to pro, because at least and also they have to be ready for pro too. At the end of the day, pro game is not easy. There's things you have to do, and there's just the type of fighter you have to be a pro. And so I wouldn't just say all my fighters go pro at 18 or 19. You have to be ready for it also. But at the same time, that's basically it. Because at the end of the day, name me one person who started boxing that wanted to be an Olympian. Name me one who wanted to be an Olympic gold medalist. No one ever starts off wanting to be that. They want to be a world champion. Mm-hmm. And but at the same time, I still would love to produce so many elite champions, Olympians, blah blah blah. If that's what the fighter wanted to do, I'll be with them. And if they didn't want to turn pro, then don't want to turn pro. But I want to do kind of both. I'll be there for them either way. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think that amateur boxing maybe needs to go back to the point scoring system, probably in that?
I would love that. Honestly would. I actually used to think that because of the point scoring there was more robberies, but I would say there's probably more robberies now. And it's sad. You know what I mean? But as I say, this year it's 10-9 scoring. Next year could be a different type of scoring. The year after that could be back to computer scoring. So it's inconsistency I don't like about amateur boxing. So as I say, I would rather that the skipped it in my pro, ultimately.
I think I look at Kurt Walker's obviously quarter-final Olympics last year, you know, like he lost the first round 5-0, then he won the second 4-1, and he won 2 of the 3 rounds and he still lost. You know, and you're sort of going, well, the second round was more of a 5-0 than the first round was, and he sort of lost out by like one judge. You know, and that cost him a medal.
Yeah, it's sad because Kurt Walker's brilliant, you know what I mean? He stuck around now for so many years at elite level, and he probably deserved the Olympic bronze medal, but unfortunately he didn't get it.
That's life, and I guess now he's obviously making his pro debut next month as well. I guess it's another exciting fighter to get behind, but I guess it's sad when you've been so used to a high level competitiveness of amateur boxing to then go into like a journeyman sort of type level and going, why is this guy not coming forward? That's probably your thought process in maybe one starting at 18 or 19 as a pro, because you know you're going to have that gradual progression as they go ahead.
It's kind of like Lewis when he turned pro early, never boxed the elite, but he kind of served his apprenticeship by fighting journeymen, you know what I mean? And so look at him now, and it's because, in my opinion, he skipped the elite level, didn't hang about, just went straight to pros. And I think he's more of a pro than most at the minute.
I guess it's people haven't seen that sort of, you know, anybody able to come through the same amateur system. They wouldn't get used to seeing Lewis, so sort of what they're seeing up now is footage rather than actually being in teams.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was actually Louis Green's coach after Lewis knocked him out. He says we couldn't believe his left hook. I says like Lewis was doing that probably from the age of 14, knocking people out cold, and if they had probably done a wee bit more research, they would have seen that. But yeah, so happy enough with the way Lewis is going. Happy enough that he skipped past the league level, and that he's a real pro now.
And speaking on obviously Potty, he's obviously another one that's, you know, I think I was speaking to him the other day, and he sort of said, you know, people didn't think he would go past sort of journeyman level. He's always been probably a hard working, honest pro, you know, like seeing Potty, and I know you obviously known Potty years and years, but he's never changed, and probably I guess that's good for you as a coach to know that some fighters, once they get to a certain level, then their head goes through the roof. They won't speak to people. They won't take pictures and things like that. But Paddy stayed the same probably, and he's probably mellowed himself even more. Like, is it sort of one of these dirty dreams sort of things? Like I know that there's been sort of talk of a potential fight. Don't want to sort of mention the name of what it is to sort of spoil a surprise, but like the name that's sort of been mentioned, and I'm like, Paddy, you can do him.
Yeah.
You know, it's that confidence, but he doesn't want to have that confidence. But when you have power in your hands like Paddy has, where's the limit for you?
Yeah, definitely. At the end of the day, he could get a big fight here, pretty soon. And as you say, it's a winnable fight, definitely. And you never know where that could take him. Paddy's number 10 in the WBA at the moment. And at the end of the day, Canal's probably going to vacate his titles soon. So there's going to be 4 titles up for grabs. They could be the likes of Bob Arm or Al Heyman could get one of their big prospects who's high up in the rankings to get one of them title shots. Maybe they want an easy fight. Look at Paddy and say he's an easy fight. But little do they know, Paddy's not easy, and he's also got that massive punch, so Paddy's always got a chance against anybody in the division. So you never know where it could take him.
And I guess the scary thing is as well, like I was speaking to Jamie obviously the other day as well, that if people are looking for footage of Paddy, they're seeing his knockouts from his earlier fights, or they're seeing very limited footage of you being obviously with him. You know, fights have ended by stoppage and they've been brutal. You know, and you could probably say it could have been brutal sooner, but you wanted to probably get a few rounds on. You know, particularly in the field, I think from probably the second round, I was sort of looking, and I was looking at Gorbachev, and I was going, the uppercut's there. You know, and it wasn't, I think, until round 3 or round 4 that he started using it, so he could have got him out of there sooner. But I guess you don't know how they're going to wilt under that punch, and don't want to go too early.
Well, I was because of the way he started the fight, it was easier to set up the uppercut after a few rounds, because obviously Paddy's throwing straight shots, he's throwing hooks, and then after a while he didn't see the uppercut coming. So I think if he had actually started throwing the uppercut sooner, then he would have been more aware of it. But because Paddy didn't throw it until like the 4th round, then he didn't see it coming at all. So it worked out perfectly. As I say, if he had a third sooner, he probably wouldn't have landed it at all. Yeah, man. So no, it worked out perfect. And as you say about the long rounds, I'm happy enough for how Paddy's went so far. I love every fight that he has to be stopped early. You get me? Keep him fresh by the time he does get the hard fight or a tougher level. Do you know what I mean? So I'm happy enough how he's going.
And your man Neves was sort of complaining about being stopped, but like anybody who sort of watched the card or was at the show, when you seen him sort of in the corner, and he was sort of wobbly legged and couldn't really stand up.
Yeah.
You know, it sort of shows the power even more.
Yeah, 100%. I think Paddy hit him mad hard that he didn't know what was going on, to be honest with you, because he was lucky that it actually continued after the first knockdown. Like, he was still wobbly after the first knockdown. The referee kind of wiped his gloves, so the referee gave him a chance. Paddy put him down again. What more do you want? Yeah, man. He didn't show anything when he started again, so it's his own fault. And as I say, he probably came and watched that fight and went, nah, it should have been stopped. So Paddy could have killed him.
Particularly the power he possessed as well. Probably your most active fighter of 2021, and he sort of seemed to be everywhere. Owen O'Neill fought in Alicante, fought in Luxembourg, obviously fought in the Devonish as well, and then obviously an exhibition with Dominic Donegan and on the Ulster Hall card as well. I guess for probably Owen, I know sometimes when we mention in interviews, he can't get over how well people speak of him, but is he probably one you would sort of highlight to people as, you know, he didn't have a lot of amateur boxing, come into pro boxing and worked hard? Like, I would say you probably struggle not to see Owen in here in a day. Like, if you're not here training him, you'll probably be here sweeping the floor.
Yeah, that's one thing about Owen. Like, Owen's basically been training flat out since we were training the Mary Peters track back in the first lockdown. We were training there illegally because we were gathering in crowds and stuff. But he's been training since then, and because he has stuck around so long and hasn't took a break, he's improving so much. It's like evident that he is improving so much, because I see with over stuff that I've been kind of working on with everybody the last year, and because Owen's been here, he's picked it all up. So Owen is going to keep improving, and it's good to see somebody who is here every single day, because that is what professional. That's what you need to get to the top. But Owen, because he has such a what he called limited amateur career, he is playing catch up in a lot of ways, like in terms of experience and stuff. So, but thankfully he is doing it. He's probably the hardest worker out of everybody.
Do you think, obviously, I think he's only had one stoppage, one amateur or pro.
Yeah.
I think it was an amateur fight. It was against Tiernan Bradley's mate from the gym. Do you think probably a knockout as a pro probably might push him on a bit more and give him a bit more confidence? Because I guess when you're hitting people with great shots and they're not going down, I know he said, opponents have said, oh, you've hurt me. I think Naeem Ali had said that probably Owen had hurt him more than anybody had done before, but you want your confidence to come from probably stopping someone. Yeah. Do you think that might help him adjust more into the pros, sort of give him a bit more confidence?
Yeah, well, I mean, I see Conor Quinn talking about that there recently, that it's once you start hurting people, it gives you more belief that you can hurt people, if that makes sense. It may sound stupid, but it's true. I had, after 5 fights myself, I only had one stoppage win. And then I knocked out, I think it was like 3 people in a row, or was it 3 people out of 4 or something like that there. But when I started knocking people out, then it actually gave me the confidence that I can do this, because I never, back when, because I boxed so long amateur, because it was the point scoring, it was just like get the point, get out again, get the point, get out again. You never actually thought about stopping people, because it wasn't, it's not something that you needed to do. You just need to win the fight by point scoring. So, but once I started knocking people out, then it gave me the confidence that I could do it. So maybe when Owen does get that first stoppage, you'll start getting more. Like Josh Warrington, I think he was 15-0 with no knockouts, or something like that. And then he went on a run of stoppages. So because he got one, give him the confidence to get more. So hopefully it happens to Owen as well.
I guess sometimes when you're, when he gets into bigger fights, I know the talk, I'm not sure obviously what the latest is with it, but him and Dominic Donegan obviously having a repeat of their fight in the amateurs. They obviously had their exhibition, and I know sort of both of them sort of were asking opinions afterwards, and I didn't want to watch the fight more for the fact that if it becomes a proper fight, you don't want something to take away from it. Probably both corners are the same. You're sort of going, you were looking at wee things, but you do things different in a fight.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't even take anything away from that exhibition, to be honest, because whatever way we were told the time that he was getting in the ring. Tommy McCormick was doing Owen's raps, but he wasn't even finished yet, and the guy came in and says, you usually need to be in 10 minutes. And we thought we had like 45 minutes. So he got his raps, he hadn't even got his stuff on or nothing. So once he got his raps done, he had to brush and get his shorts on, his spectacular boots, everything, and then they were shouting at us going, you need to get in now, you need to get in now. So we had done pads for like maybe 20 seconds for the warm up. Then once he got in, it was 4 2-minute rounds. And I don't think Owen's ever done 2-minute rounds, ever. So I've taken nothing from that, to be honest with you, from either side. Maybe they will, I don't know, don't really care either. But if it's, hopefully, there was talk of it being maybe for a title over 8 rounds, stuff like that there. So hopefully it is that, because I think it is time that Owen did step up and do a 6 or 8 rounder. So I'd be happy enough with that, because he is fit, he's in here working hard, and he does do the rounds in here in sparring. So hopefully that does go that way. But because of COVID, messed everything up in terms of shows and stuff like that. I wouldn't hold my breath for it.
And I know Colin and Boxing were looking to put on this show, and they were initially looking at the end of February, but I think in dates and things didn't work out. I think it's now April they're looking at, so I'm not sure what's happening with Boxing Ireland, and obviously when they're looking at the next shows, but it's definitely one that's a mouthwater and one that people want to see.
100%, because Owen is a very well liked guy everywhere. He's a nice guy, and especially in North Belfast, people love him. So everybody wants to see probably Owen pushing on there as well, because he's been a pro a few years now. So everybody wants it for him as well.
You've mellowed out in this North Belfast. And I remember before you obviously slating him for being from North Belfast. You've sort of mellowed out in that. Now you must have got a few messages from people telling you to wise up.
No, well, I said him a few times. He's the only person from North Belfast I like, and but it's because his family's originally from the West. I think that's what it is. Because us West won't stick together.
West is the best, as they say, isn't it? And obviously the exciting debut of Colm Murphy as well. Like I was watching the clip the other day. I'd obviously taken a wee video recording him and come to the ring, and you sort of hear the music, and but that's I guess that music's just exactly what he is. Have you found it hard to sort of try and tone him down? Like I think he'd probably say himself before he came to you, he was sort of taking punches. He was just using his head to sort of catch people's punches, whereas now you're sort of having to tone him down. I was probably fearful a bit of going, when he gets in there and the excitement levels start to go, how are you going to keep him calm? But like debut wise, you probably couldn't ask for any more from him.
No, I was burnt that debut. Really, really was. He done everything I asked him. Colm's the type of person where I've never seen someone that sticks to a game plan like Colm. If you tell him to do something, he does it times 10. You get me? I can't wait till he fights again because he's come on so much as well. His head movement, his foot movement, he's switching southpaw. Like people wouldn't believe you until you've seen it. How good Colm is now, and I'm looking forward to seeing him shock people as well. Because Colm, everybody just thinks Colm's just a bulldozer, tries to just go forward, head high, and try to throw as many punches as possible. Trust me, Colm's not the same Colm. And actually, in a way, I'm happy with the fact that he hasn't fought since September because we've been able to work on so much since he has came here. And maybe if he's got a fight coming up, we wouldn't be able to work on certain things as much, if that makes sense. So he's improved 100%. So he hasn't, as I say, he's going to shock a lot of people, and I'm not lying. I was actually saying to somebody yesterday, I genuinely think Colm could be a world champion.
I'm sure he'll take good honour to that. And he's shared rounds with Jazza Dickens and Michael Conlon, obviously more recently as well. So it's sort of getting, and Kurt as well. So he's sort of got to share rounds with obviously people at a bigger level, which will push him on even further again. Big
time, and he done very, very well against him. And I think I'd actually give him more confidence in what he's doing and the improvements that he's made. So hopefully it gives him hunger to do even more.
And obviously the other one in your gym that you obviously haven't got to having a gym pro wise is Conor Quinn. Hoping obviously to get him in the action again soon.
Big time. I said there Colin could be a world champion. I think Conor is going to be Ireland's first ever featherweight world champion. He's unbelievable. Like that guy, Sam Logue was up yesterday, and he couldn't believe how good Conor was as well. Even his attitude and his aura just screams out champion all day long. I think he could be one of Ireland's best ever. Really could. He's unbelievable. Really is.
Particularly the weight class he's at as well. The weight class you can sort of go up them a lot easier.
Exactly. And I will need Conor. So if Conor was lightweight, I'd still believe he'd be a world champion. Conor is amazing. He has also improved so much. Head movement, foot movement, showboating. Unbelievable. Really, really is so good.
Punches like a mule as well.
What's that?
Punches like a mule as well.
Oh, knockout artist. He really is. I can see Conor. This is the thing about it. I don't think people are going to see actually how good Conor is, because I think he's going to probably knock out his next 10 opponents straight, probably first round, second round, and you're not going to see how good his boxing ability is because he's going to be such an amazing puncher, if that makes sense. But once somebody is able to take his power, you're going to see how good of an actual boxer he is, his skill level, stuff like that, his foot movement, head movement. He's going to make an absolute fool out of the best. I can't wait, really, really can't wait. Even when I was away with Lewis, I was away with Paulie and Bolton, 10 Paulie's fight called off. I was actually thinking about when Conor, I can't wait the Conor fights. And obviously it's been 2 years coming up since he's fought, but I really, really can't wait. he's something else.
I think everybody's sort of looking forward to it, and I guess, I guess a good thing you see him still in the gym every day.
I think people's kind of forgot about Connor, but once he starts, trust me, he'll never be forgotten ever again.
And definitely it's another exciting one to get behind. You've had probably a couple more pros in the gym recently. You've had Carl Douglas and Lee Reeves in. And I know Lee probably more than anybody probably wouldn't sing your praises. You couldn't probably sing your praises anymore. Is it sort of you just helping them with sort of wee things with their boxing, or are they going to become in the gym?
I'm going to be training both of them. Lee, I think because they've been about so much, I think they can appreciate my type of coaching more, because obviously the hard work that I've put in, and it may sound arrogant, but the knowledge that I have in terms of how to win a fight, what to build on, what system, and even in the history of boxing, like I've always been a student of the game. And so I think Carl and Lee probably appreciate my coaching probably even more than the rest, even though the rest trust me and they know what I'm all about. But because they've been about so much, I think they appreciate it a wee bit more. And two of them are brilliant to have in the gym as well. They're good characters. They fit in well to this gym. Everybody in this gym brings their own type of character and their attitude, and it's brilliant. I love training them. I really do, all of them, because they're all brilliant guys.
I love slating about Carl, obviously Conor McGregor. I think it's got to the stage now that I think I'm the only one that probably gets away with it when other people do it. It's like, leave me alone sort of thing. But a good lad. Was he two? And always at both his fights over in Poland, and I know there's been a mess up. I think the lot he's with in Poland, they lost a sort of TV contract and things like that. I remember one of his fights, like an hour before the show started, they pulled his feet on it. It'd be good to get him into action, because obviously, he a two-time Irish
champion.
Yeah.
See, Carl didn't start boxing until late enough, and he's so athletic and he's so good, but he's there's so much to build on in terms of head movement and footwork. I would love a few months with him. I think at the minute he's having a few problems at the minute, managerial wise, but at the end of the day, he is going to fight again at some stage, even if it has to take a year. Sure, he's going to be in here and he's going to be learning, he's going to be getting better all the time. Spawn Ploy, McCrory, Owen O'Neill, everybody in here, and there's only stuff that I want him to work on, and if it takes a year, it takes a year. But he's in here and he's training. He travels from Balmoney, I think it is, like every day. So it shows you the dedication he has and the hunger he has for learning and wanting to get better. On top of that, he's a very, very well mannered guy, and I can take a good slagging as well, because Connor especially slags life for him. But as I say, once he gets going, he'll be flying as well, and God knows where the journey could take him as well, because he's so dedicated. He's such a hard worker, and I'd say he's so athletic, and there's so much to build on that. And it's well by Lee Reeves too. Like, he travels up from Limerick. He stays a couple of weeks at a time, and then whenever he gets a fight, I know he's going to stay for maybe 4 or 5 weeks at a time. And so yeah, there's definitely going to be improvements, and Lee also, and top of Lee's also very, very athletic. Keeps himself on top nick all year round, and punches like a mule as well. That's one thing about all the fighters I have. They can all hit they've got that get out of jail card. Even if stuff isn't going right, they can land that big shot. It's good night then.
Game over. Magnificent 7. If I can speak, magnificent 7. So there'll be 7 fighters in the gym then. Is that probably the ideal number you'd like to keep, or is it depending on the sort of fighters available?
There was a stage where just over a year ago I said that's it now. It's like, that's all I'm taking in. But if fighters on the same type of promotional, like managerial thing, then most of them are going to be fighting on the same night. So there is going to be fighters here who there's a few even guys who I'm friends with and who I train often, and they said to me that they would love to go pro this stage, that stage, and they're probably going to come with me as well, like top amateurs. So now this gym's open to everybody. Well, not everybody. I have to like you first. If I don't like you, I'm not training you. There's because I love coming here. I love every single day I wake up. I'm excited to get here, because I don't even train people 1-to-1 unless I like you. Because I don't want to be get up here every day and dreading to see someone. So, nah, everybody in here brings their own type of character, so I love it.
I guess you're not going to put 100% into somebody unless you really like them as well. So what's the sense of you planning stuff for them?
I'm trusting them too. And if I don't trust someone, I'm not going to give them my all either.
I'm just cautious of time here because obviously I know you've obviously other engagement this evening. Sort of looking ahead, sort of saying the other day that March has sort of become a madness month, but even February, like, it's great that boxing's obviously kicking off in a big way. We've obviously Chris Eubank Jr. and Liam Williams next week. With Can and Brooke, probably 5 years too late coming up, and then obviously ending the month of February be undisputed super lightweight fight between Josh Taylor and Jack Carroll, and then probably rolling into March. We've obviously Mick Conlon fighting Lee Wood for the regular WBA belt. Hopefully it's going to be upgraded to super belt. The talk I've heard is when Leo Santa Cruz fights next Saturday, he'll then be stripped of it straight away. But I guess it's politics in sport sometimes. The PBC's probably holding a trump card there somewhere. Are you sort of, because I know that this sort of month or so we've had really no real boxing, are you sort of looking forward to sort of watching some big fights again?
Yeah, well, I just want to stay busy myself. See all my fitters in week in, week out. I think the last maybe 4 weeks I've been away to Dublin or I'm away to Shoden here. I would love one for the B1 next week and the week after. And actually, I'm out there 16 kids in their competition next week here in the Antrims. So I'm always staying busy and I want to keep staying busy. And also I like to watch boxing too, so looking forward to it all. Me being involved in boxing and also watching boxing too, so can't wait that it all starts back again.
It's definitely it's putting that buzz sort of in again, you know, like probably I think of 2021 and probably look at the year of upsets. You know, you had obviously James Tennyson getting beat by Straffron, was it 2021 or was it 2020? 2021 maybe. You had obviously Josh Warrington obviously getting beat, Kid Galahad obviously getting stopped. But, you know, and you sort of go into boxing and you're going, like, what else can happen in this sport?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, see, every time I see an upset like that, it actually does humble me a wee bit, even when you see fighters get knocked out by journeymen. It makes me feel very lucky that I haven't been beat yet. Well, not me, I haven't got beat yet, but my camp hasn't got beat yet. And so it just makes you thankful that hasn't happened yet. And hopefully it never happens. So, yeah, because I see Kiko Martinez one shocked me the most because I never ever really rated Kiko Martinez. I've heard so much about him outside the ring. Weeks of fights that he's been doing stuff he shouldn't be doing. And then he's like
38 maybe, I think.
38, and he knocks out Kid Galahad, who's actually at the top of his game. Like I seen Jazza Dickens in here sparring, and he's unbelievable. Jazza Dickens he's a solid pro. And when I seen him, and then when I seen what Kid Galahad did to him, just shows you how top of his game Kid Galahad was. And for Kiko Martinez to knock him out just shows you that one shot can just change everything.
It's crazy, you know, like I say, he was losing most of it. Was at the end of the 5th round he landed the bomb and you probably could have said then, you know, I guess Galahad probably got a bit more respect from the referee because he was the champion. If he had been the challenger, he'd been stopped there and then. But you know, I guess it shows in boxing that no matter, you know, we've had it the last couple of years. Obviously, Andy Ruiz beat Joshua, you know, and amongst other things, and Dillian White obviously getting beat by Povetkin. You sort of look at it and you go, there's always going to be wee upset somewhere. Probably leads me well on to obviously, are you glad in the way that Fury White's now been done? Dillian White's obviously mentioned for the last 3 years. He's been mandatory and not getting a belt.
Nah, it's in all honesty, the only fight that only anybody wants at the minute is Tyson Fury versus Usyk. You only want the best fight in the best. Say if you see the best fight in someone who's number 3, 4, it's not, people don't really care, do you know? It'll be forgot about in a month. So I mean, you would never see someone, casual boxing fans talking about the time Tyson Fury fought in Windsor Park against someone who no one knows. And then after he, before he fought Wilder, he fought it was a German guy or something like that there. No one's going to remember fights, I guess.
I thought Sefri Seri, was it?
Something like that, but no one remembers. But casual boxing fans don't remember. I don't even remember the guy's name. And I study the game all day, every day. So when people only want to see the best fighting the best, nobody really cares about Joshua anymore. Let's be real. He's been found out that he was never really that good. He's just a big powerhouse who's fit and strong. But against Usyk, he looked like a big novice. He looked like a big baby, more than anything. And Usyk played with him. I actually think if he fought again, Usyk would seriously hurt him.
I sort of looked at it, even in the build-up, and it's probably one of the fights I got sort of right in prediction sort of wise, but I looked at it probably more similar to the Bellew fight. You know, that I guess when you have somebody at Supreme that's studied so well, like Lomachenko and Usyk probably are similar. They'll take a few rounds to study you out,
Yep.
and then they'll obviously start moving in a certain direction, and you don't figure out what they're doing, and then the feet move, and all of a sudden, then, as they say, the punches you don't see are the ones that hurt you the most.
Well, that's what Lomachenko does. That's what Usyk does. That's what Lewis done in his last fight. Just let the guy wear himself out before he destroyed him. Doing things that he was setting up in the later rounds. Paulie also did it where he was like, I didn't throw the uppercut till like round 4. So, yeah, actually, as I say, I don't think Usyk had the confidence against Joshua the way he did against Bellew. But if he fought again, he would have that confidence that he can hurt him. So I don't think it would go past 8 rounds if they fought each other again.
And then probably setting up for a probably the best ideal fight everybody wants is obviously Fury and Usyk, probably at the end of the year. Well, I guess it depends. You know, the probably stipulations and contracts. Thankfully, the Fury White's a mandatory, so he can't be sort of forced again. But you don't know with the WBC. I guess Usyk and Joshua both managed by Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. What they're going to do there, but hopefully we can get an undisputed heavyweight world title fight by the end of 2022.
That'd be amazing. Fancy Fury too. Even though Usyk is so skilled, footwork, head movement, brilliant, how he sets things up, but Fury's just too good. Too big, too strong, and he can also match Usyk for skill. So, how are you going to beat that?
Definitely. We'll end it with just one final question then. Obviously, if you could make any fight in 2022, who would it be?
From my fighters or everybody?
I'll probably say just in world box. You know, it's probably you study the game that much. Who would you like to see fight? I guess a lot of people probably look at Canelo and Berbiev at light heavy. Is there sort of one fight that would make you sort of stop the world? You know, it doesn't matter what's happening. Yeah. One fight you'd want to see.
Has to be Usyk Fury. The heavyweight title is the most prestigious title to win, because back in like the 1910s, 20s, if you were the heavyweight champion of the world, you were the best fighter on the entire planet. So it's the most prestigious. So that's what everybody wants to see. Like if Canelo fought Beterbiev, I can go out to a girl in the street there and say, "Hey, you looking forward to Canelo Beterbiev fight?" They would go, "Who are both of them?" I don't even know who they are. But if you say Fury, they'll probably go, "Oh, big Tyson Fury, I know him." So people in the street know who Fury is. You get me? But they wouldn't know who Canelo or Beterbiev is. So that's the one that would, as you say, would stop the world and make them watch is that fight.
It's definitely it's sometimes it's a probably rightly said that probably say the division sometimes you don't need as much skill as in other divisions, but obviously when you hit somebody a big punch, that's sort of it.
Well that's it. Once you get past maybe welterweight, anybody can knock anybody out. You're a big man at that stage, so it's exciting. That's what makes them weights more exciting than the lower weights.
And is 2022 the year we're going to have an Irish world champion again? Obviously with Mick fighting Lee Wood in March.
I don't think people talk about Lee Wood and Spence Bar and stuff, but I don't think people understand how skilled Mick Conlon is. You know what I mean? So he, if anything, I actually don't think you've seen Mick get out of first gear. I think, in all honesty, if Mick wins this fight, he's probably the greatest Irish fighter of all time in terms of amateur and pro. He's won Commonwealth, European, and World Gold Medal. No male has won a World Gold Medal apart from Mick Conlon. And if he wins a world title, who do you know has done that? Apart from Katie Taylor, obviously, who's absolutely amazing. She's won about 6 or 7 World Gold Medals or something. But in terms of males, Mick, I think he should go down as the greatest Irish fighter of all time. And top bet, he will win. Let's be realised. He's too skillful for Lee Wood. He could also go for another whip, so he could match Frampton for 2-weight world champion.
He can move down or he can move up.
Exactly. So he can move down then move up. So he could be 2-3-weight world champion also, like Conor Quinn. So I think he could be the greatest of all time.
And I sort of guess another young trainer probably in there, and Ben Davison as well. Did you see his comments recently? I think he was sort of saying that the older sort of generation of coaches in pro boxing sort of aren't learning and adapting.
Look, I get what he's saying. He says that boxing coaches are lazy, which is 100% true. But at the same time, I don't think I'll ever have. I'll obviously respect him for what he's done so far, but at the end of the day, every fighter he's had was already good before he even came to him. Josh Taylor was already a world champion before he unified the title. There's coaches like Ben Davison, like Freddie Roach, Ben Davison, who get fighters when they're already great. I think Pacquiao was probably a 2-weight world champion before he even came to Freddie Roach. But I look up to coaches like Manuel Stewart, Brendan Ingle, Customato, because they took kids from they walked in their gym, took them the Olympic gold medals, and then world titles afterwards. That's the coaches I look up to. I don't look up to people like Ben Davison. I don't really care what he has to say there in terms of coaches here, coaches being lazy, even though it's probably true. But I don't really rate. That's sorry I've done that I don't rate him. I don't respect him the way I would respect him on the Stewart and people like that at that level. Till he trains a kid from here, till a world title, then he's not going to get the respect that I think he's kind of getting at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think, when you sort of look at Ben and yes, people's going to give him the praise and everything else what he's sort of doing in some parts, but you can't really see him being involved in amateur boxing because
No, there's no money in it. Like I train kids in here for nothing, 5 times a week. I don't get nothing for it. I take them like this here week, as I said, like I'm entering 16 kids in the novices, and then there's probably about 10 kids I train also who aren't novices, who are like Irish title level or national level. It's actually European like medals I've trained, and but he won't get involved in that because at the end of the day it's not going to make him money, and it doesn't get you in front of the cameras. You don't get no praise for it. If anything, it gives you more of a headache. So you'll never see him in boxing like that, in amateur boxing, because as I said, it doesn't get him in front of the cameras, so it doesn't suit him.
Well, listen, thank you very much for your time. Obviously, we always try to keep it delayed a few months sometimes, rather than what we do with others where they may be on so regularly. Because we know you never stop in the gym here, but it's good when we leave at 6 months and then we have a right good natter. I think was it the last one, the one before, where was it obviously the drugs, cheats in the sport, and it sort of got a good reaction as well. But I guess everybody loves to hear your sort of thought process and everything else to say you're well respected as a coach. But obviously I hope you enjoy your evening in the Devonish tonight. Hopefully it's another one for one of your fighters.
That's it.
And I'm sure we'll catch up again soon.
100%. Thank you, Morty.
Cheers, take care.
Thank you.